Everyone suffers. You suffer, I suffer, everybody suffers. And if you gave a shit about animals, which you don't anyway, because you give a shit about the cute ones, we don't give a shit about the cock.
So everything is suffering. I don't see, it seems like he's trying to understand the values of veganism, or he's assuming the values of vegans without actually knowing what vegans value. So it seems like he's sort of trying to imply that vegans are against just the complete elimination of suffering by that claim. That would be my guess. But yeah, for me personally, I'm like a rights-based vegan, so I'm against minimizing rights violations. It's got like nothing really to do with suffering. For example, if there was an option where I could reduce suffering, but it would, increase the rights violation, I wouldn't necessarily pick the option which reduces suffering.
Yeah, and this is a tactic I see from a lot of non-vegans is it's a way of avoiding accountability. So what they do is they say, oh, everyone suffers, everyone has to die, so who cares, right? But they only use that argument for eating animals. When it comes to like protecting humans, oh, no, you can't just go around hurting people. Yeah, everyone suffers, everyone has to die, but murder's wrong, right? So like they can recognize, imagine a murderer like being in front of a court, like a judge, and being like, well, I suffer, you suffer, everyone suffers, so who cares that I torture that guy to death? Like that argument would never stick. So what's the difference in the animal case, right? Yes, obviously, I have felt suffering in my life. I'm sure you have, right? We felt pain, we've had hardships, but that doesn't mean that I want my rights violated, right? That doesn't mean I should have my rights violated just because I also experience pain and suffering in other areas or in other aspects.
Yeah, so if I wanted to go punch someone and then I punched them and they're like, why are you punching me? I said, suffering is everywhere.
Right. It's such a horrible argument, yeah.
Approaches. So you're just a hypocrite to start with. I mean, there's so many fucking we don't give. And if you gave a shit about animals, which you don't anyway, because you give a shit about the cute ones, we don't give a shit about the cockroaches. So you're just a hypocrite to start with. I mean, there's so many fucking.
So again, he's assuming values here. I don't know why he thinks vegans don't care about cockroaches.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get this a lot where people are like, oh, you don't care about the snakes and the rabbits and the moles and the voles, and they do all that, the whole line from the Joe Rogan podcast. But that's not true, right? Like, I wish there were more vegans in the world, because then we could find solutions to a lot of these other animal deaths, whether it's from car accidents, whether it's from building homes, whether it's from growing crops. I would like solutions to that. I do care, right? It's not, all of these systems are created and ran by non-vegans. I think like people forget, like it's not a bunch of vegans growing crops or industrializing the crop production, These are people who don't care about animal well-being to begin with.
Yeah, and he's also, it seems like he's sort of hinting that vegans somehow increase the total rights violations for,
cockroaches.
Yeah. He didn't provide any empirical data on that, and just again, not very clear. It's kind of hard to make sense of just gibberish, but we're doing our best here.
Mistakes in it. Anyway, back to my original point before I started angry. They deny reality, and the reason they deny reality is this. For something to live, and for something to prosper, and for something to survive, something else must die. This is a constant.
Yeah, something else must die for something to live. Yeah, I would like him to provide an argument for that, because is it an appeal to impossibility?
Mm-hmm. No, I think they call it the nirvana fallacy, where like we can't be perfect. And also he says something must die. Yeah, something must die, but someone doesn't have to die, right? I think we got to differentiate non-sentient plants and sentient animals. Like both are living, right? Yeah, I'll grant carrots have to die for me to live, but why does a cow, chicken, pig, sheep? Those are individuals, right? Those are some ones, not some things, right? Because they're sentient. So yeah, what's it called? What did you just say? I actually like what you said before.
What's the point we're talking about again?
He said something has to die for us to live.
Oh, yeah. I said like, what did I say?
I don't remember now. Shoot.
I mean, it's going to come to me. It's the B12 deficiency here. Something else. No, what's the argument for that?
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and well, I thought you said something else. Maybe not, but yeah, that's the thing is like, we talked about the fallacy. Right. No, yes, how you said it's the like because we can't be perfect, right? Because we can't eliminate all suffering, all death, all rights violations. Therefore, you're denying reality if you try to eliminate any of it. It's like, what is the argument? Yeah, what's the argument for that? That seems very inconsistent to everything else we have in place, right? We have laws, we have rights in place specifically to try and reduce rights violations and harm to others. So why wouldn't we do that for animals?
Yeah, and I can think of ways in which it could theoretically be possible to grow or produce without harming anything, such as vertical farming. There's a company now in London, it's called Grow Up Farms. They do indoor vertical farming, and you just grow inside. There's no incidental death.
And that's the thing is like once we actually go in a direction of, okay, let's try and eliminate this as much as possible, right? We can actually come up with technology to do that, right? It's only where you get stuck in this mindset of, oh, we can't eliminate all of it, so who cares? How are we ever going to get close? How are we ever even going to progress? It's a horrible way to look at things.
Yeah, the vegan world would be the one which strives towards this.
Yeah, the vegan world would be the one that helps the cockroaches, if any world would help them.
Yeah. Whilst the carnist world would be going away from these things with their, crop deaths, though arguments and everything,
Right. That's the best. It's like the non-vegans are like, well, what about crop deaths? It's like, okay, let's go with your world. What happens with crop deaths in your world? Well, nothing. And then we also kill 80 billion animals on top of it. It's like, okay, so we've tried your world. Let's try the vegan world for a change.
Yeah, in their world, it will be for the people, promoting a carnivore lifestyle, the fad lifestyle. This will require multiple planets because there's just not enough
regenerative farmland.
Yeah.
Then it's a universal truth, and it's always been true. Even for a plant to live and strive and grow, it has to destroy or absorb minerals. Something else must be destroyed or absorbed or taken apart for something else to grow. This is the natural human condition.
So he's talking about plants, and then there he says it's the natural human condition. So with the plants, I don't know what the relation is with, he's talking about plants must grow, absorb minerals, and he said this is the natural human condition. I don't see how that follows, but plants are not sentient. Well, as far as we know, the best consensus I've seen is that central nervous system, you can infer sentience from behavior, such as if something responds like a learned behavior and then central nervous system, there's a few sort of inferences you can make. And plants will be constantly in pain as well, if, based on evolution, because sentience was, as I understand it, it developed to help us survive. And a plant would be stuck in the ground, constantly in pain with the elements. So the reason I personally don't care about eating a carrot, for example, or stabbing a carrot is because I don't feel like it's got the ability to have a subjective experience based on the absence of a nervous system.
Yeah, no, 100%. Honestly, I just got an excuse to go rob somebody to take their resources to thrive based on, because it's a natural human order. So I'm actually done. I'm gonna just go rob somebody right now and exploit them and take advantage of them because it's a natural human order. So yeah, it's a horrible argument, but.
Not even the human condition. This is the natural condition of the universe. Even planets destroy other things to create themselves. So why am I supposed to feel guilty for destroying an animal so that I can grow, when every single thing that's ever existed ever has destroyed something else to grow? Well, I'm going to come along and be Mr. Nice Guy, and I'm going to undo the laws of the universe.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you sit there and eat.
Yeah, like like he's acting as if we can't do that. Like he's saying, well, this is how it's been forever. So what am I going to be, the nice guy? Yeah. Why not? Why not be the nice guy? Like we have moral agency. We have the technology. Why not? Why would you rather be the bad guy? Would you rather be the guy that keeps doing things like we've been doing them? I don't want to do that. And half of the stuff he's saying are not sentient. Planets, it's space rock clashing into space rock. Who cares?
Yeah, well said. Brilliant.
Tofu.
Wait.
Undo the laws of the universe. You think because you sit there and eat tofu that you're somehow changing the basic universal constants of the reality we exist within. You're not changing shit. You're a dork. Because this is the reality of the world. So when you're saying I'm a vegetarian or I'm a vegan, you're saying I deny reality. I deny one of the most basic fundamentals of reality, which is for something to live, something else must die. I deny that reality, which is fucking ridiculous anyway, because plants, you still kill plants. Oh, but they're not sentient. You're still killing shit. So who cares? It's just ridiculous.
All right, I guess.
Imagine if.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. But no, you go.
I was going to say, I guess we're just a couple of dorks, I guess, but that's all I was going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, imagine if someone was kicking a dog on the street and then you're like, why are you doing that? And you're like, yeah, plants are sentient. Yeah, like they're suffering all in the universe. Like for something to live, something must die, or something.
Right. No, imagine if you have like a guy kick a puppy and the guy who's kicking puppy said, well, it's a natural human order. You think you're going to come around and change that? It's like, you don't have to kick the puppy. Just stop kicking the puppy. Like, sure, yeah, there's suffering, there's death, yes, but you have the choice to kick or to not kick that puppy. It's just, yeah, it's, and that's where, like, honest conversation comes in, like, honest debate comes in, because if we were to try and apply his logic to other areas or to other values he may hold, he would either turn out to be a complete psychopath or he would turn out to be inconsistent. And that's why, like, it's easy to say this for animals where the majority of people don't care about animals. So they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But the second you actually, like, hold him accountable for his claims and try and apply it consistently, it falls apart or he's crazy.
Yeah, the way I see it is someone who's not willing to apply vegan ethics, either it's going to end up in the logical inconsistency, or they're just going to bite the bullet and end up being, something which it would seem to me is sort of psychopathic behavior. So either it's a logical inconsistency, if you sort of reductio them asking them to name the trait, the morally relevant difference between any other sentient being and a human, and whatever they name, you can just ask them if a human was, missing this trait, which was not sentience, such as, if they say, what makes something morally relevant is intelligence. You just say, if a human wasn't intelligent, or if a country started breeding humans which aren't intelligent or less intelligent than a pig or any, animal, any sentient animal, would you be okay with this going on? If they say no, then, they've bitten the bullet. Or alternatively, they'll say yes, and they're just like psychopathic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if they say no, they're inconsistent. If they say yes, then get away from me. Like, I don't know what else to say, yeah.
So I have a policy when it comes to vegetarians, and here's what I do. I've met a lot of them. I've always seemed to somehow, everything's going well. I sit down for dinner with some chick. Oh, I'm actually a vegetarian. I'm something like, oh, of course you are. So here's the rules for dating vegetarians. We're going slightly off track. I'm going to do my fire quickly, but here's the rules for dating vegetarians. First things first. What you don't do, I know this is going to be a real crazy idea for most of you guys. Most of you guys will be like, what? Wow, whoa, I never thought of that. Don't be a little bitch.
Honey,
I know you've never thought of that before.
Don't forget the cookies.
But seriously, it's an option. Don't be a bitch. So she says, I'm a vegetarian. You say, okay, cool, that's cool. And she orders fucking tofu with grass. What would you like? I'd like a steak, please. I'd like a steak. Why are you ordering steak? Because that's what I eat.
Can you pause it for a second?
Particularly to offend you, that's what I eat.
From my knowledge, the vegan movement is dominated by women, I think. I saw that recently on a vegan page. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's the majority is women. And I think it's because of this mindset, right? It's because, you're a man. You don't do that, wimpy vegetarian stuff. You're a man, you eat a steak. And if you're with a vegetarian, you order that steak anyway. You don't even respect you order that steak. Like, I'm just sick of like hearing that. Because to me, it's the exact opposite, right? I don't see a reason why it would be any manlier to pay for the flesh of a dead animal on your plate. Like, I don't get that. So that's just, anybody who hears him say that and is like, oh yeah, he's the man, has really got some deep reflection to do. I don't know.
He's also, we're assuming he's talking about vegans as well in this, this section, because he's talking about vegetarians who also support, the rights violations of sentient beings.
Mm-hmm. We could assume he'd probably hate vegans even more.
I'm not going to make you change your choices for me, so I don't think you should make me change my choices for you. And she goes, oh, well, I'm offended. Da, da, da. So, oh, you're offended. Okay, well, I understand that. All right, no problem. I'll be back in a second. Walk out the restaurant, never come back. That's what you do. Most vegetarians will be like, oh, okay. They won't say much about it.
Yeah, earlier on, I forgot to mention that he's mentioned tofu a few times, and I don't know. I would guess that he just does not know how to cook.
Yeah, no, anyone that says tofu is bad has never actually cooked tofu well. That's the thing. Tofu is so good. Tofu's like, when it's cooked well, it's like one of my favorite things to eat because it's just really, really good.
Yeah, and tofu and what was it? Grass, he said. Yeah, this is not what vegans eat. Come on, Andrew. Yeah.
Oh yeah, tofu grass sandwich, whatever you said. Also, what's funny is like, he's telling meat eaters that if you have a vegetarian or a vegan, just walk out, just get away from them. But if vegans do that to non-vegans, we're like extreme. Like, oh, stop making a big deal, don't be extreme. But yet this guy's perpetuating a message of like completely get away from wimpy vegetarians or vegans.
Enjoy your fucking steak. If you get on the subject of vegetarianism, you can tell her she's a bimbo, or you can just kind of ignore it. Oh yeah, well, people make their own choices. But once you get with a vegetarian long term, after you sleep with them and whatever, you get with them long term. Every vegetarian and vegan I've ever had has cooked me, and I've been very, very stringent about that point. I've had vegans say, "I would rather split up than cook you a steak." I would get the fuck out there. So I'm a meat eater. This is my house, and I pay the rent. And there's meat in the freezer that he's cooking, and you're cooking it for me. So either cook it or get the fuck out. Because what you cannot do is let them impose their garbage religion on you, because that's what they want to do. I was about to say I don't have a problem. I do have a problem. My problem with vegans and vegetarians, I've just explained, they deny reality. That's fine. The one thing I will certainly never allow happen is someone who denies reality, forcing their garbage version of existence upon me. I will never deny reality for anybody. So if you want to deny reality and you want to eat grass and live on carrots, good. But when I want a steak, bitch, you're gonna cook it.
Yeah, it's just really harmful rhetoric there. Just like, not only is like, we all know Andrew Tate, he rose to fame for being disrespectful and just awful to women. Forget about the animals for a second. But I like that he talked about forcing the lifestyle. I don't know if you were gonna say something about that, but what about the animals? Right? Like, he can't stand if the person he's in a relationship with doesn't want to cook steak, but he's fine with forcing animals into a slaughterhouse to have their throat slit, get electrocuted, get bolt gunned in the head, you know?
Yeah, and he said that he wouldn't, live with someone who's got, a vegetarian or a vegan who doesn't want to cook him steak. And it's just an inability to understand who the victim is. Because the victim is what's on his plate, and he's playing himself as a victim. You don't want to cook me steak, but there's a sentient being, and this whole clip, it doesn't seem like he's got any sort of idea about what veganism is about, which is an ethical position. He's sort of mischaracterizing, making category errors between vegans and vegetarians. He assumes they have the same values when one's a dietary choice, one's an ethical position. And he also doesn't have any real knowledge about, it seems like he could do with some more, nutrition knowledge. He could follow. I don't know if you've got any good, if he watches this video, I don't know, do you have any good people he could follow if he wants to learn, how to cook tofu?
I don't know how to cook tofu for nutritional science. I mean, Foolproof Mastery, great Instagram to follow. Dr. Matthew Nagra, fantastic. There's so many vegan recipe Instagrams and YouTube channels. Like, the thing is, I don't really cook that much. I eat like oatmeal, peanut butter sandwiches, lentil soup, like very basic stuff. But if you really want to cook, there's so many recipes. There's like a tremendous amount of channels and recipes out there. But yeah, this one is like, I can see somebody like Paul Saladino or Anthony Chafee or any of these other carnivore guys, because they try and address things scientifically. They actually show themselves eating the food, right? They have like they at least are fighting very strongly for their position, even though it's not based on it's based on almost no evidence, and it's, you know, whatever. But in this case, he's just speaking fanatically. He's just being a macho man, just saying things, just talking gibberish. Doesn't even make a case for why it's okay to do this or how it's healthy to do this. He just says, well, it's human nature, so just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard to make sense because it's a load of, you know, gibberish, load of, you know, yeah, strange sentences here and there.
Yeah. And also, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you really want to get your position from somebody who clearly doesn't know how to, like, have a conversation? The entire time he's like, oh, she tells you she's vegetarian, just call her a bimbo. That's what he said. Just call her a bimbo. It's like, do you really want to, like, get your advice or get your morals from somebody who just calls people names? He called her a bitch at the end. He's saying, oh, you're going to do it in my, like, do you really want, like, I understand if you're 14, the whole, like, domination thing is kind of cool. But once you're an actual adult and once you start caring about your well-being and the well-being of others, do you really want to get your values from somebody like that?
I agree. He's perhaps many people see him as a role model, but it's just so much, you know, toxic energy coming out. I hope one day maybe he'll connect the dots though, but yeah.
I'll say, did you see the Joey Garbstrong and Tristan Tate debate? Did you watch that?
I saw a few brief, I skimmed through it. It was also, you know, a lot of, from Tristan, he was refusing to really engage with the questions or answer the hypotheticals.
Yeah, what's interesting about that, like, I do think Joey could have pushed harder, like, definitely held him, but the fact that Tristan, all he had to say was, yeah, I don't care about any treatment of animals. Like, at least carnivores, other people, they say, oh, no, we should treat them well, right? At least they have some kind of, be it lip service, but at least they have some kind of connection that, like, okay, animals can feel pain. But Tristan, like, he essentially ended on what I would consider a very psychopathic note, or very deranged, like, very, like, not good note, where he said, oh, I don't care what you do to them. I don't care how they're treated. I don't care if it's factory farmed. I don't care if they're suffering and in pain their whole lives. As long as it gives me meat on my plate, I'm fine. And most people, even people who follow Tristan and Andrew, would probably disagree with that, if I had to guess, because that's just crazy.
Yeah, he was just repeating, I don't care, I don't care. And it's strange that some people are commenting in the sections, he seems so educated. Well, I don't care. It's this position can run into many, it can put you into a weird position, you know. If you think I don't care is a valid excuse, you want to, you know, universalize that to every sort of situation, then it's not, you're gonna have some difficulties.
Yeah, good luck to you, buddy. That's all I'm gonna say.